All right, so everybody is raving about NotebookLM. If you haven't heard of it yet, I'm sure you will. This is another thing that I did to help with a job application or all my job applications in general. Now, the sharing, like you can't have a public NotebookLM notebook yet. And to back it up a little bit, Notebook, it's it's essentially a collection of information that ties into AI to let you generate more information that you can save as a bunch of different pages within this notebook. The reason people love it so much is because if you go into this notebook guide, there is this audio overview. This uses it's an open source solution. It's like Podcastify, but it doesn't have an I at the end. But there's a GitHub project, and so what this does is it takes the information that you give it, and it generates a podcast style audio clip of two people having a conversation. So when it's your career and your information, they're basically talking about you, and it does a really good job of taking all this context and building a really interesting podcast style story. To me, this is much better than asking a recruiter to try and glean all that from a one-page cover letter and a one-page resume. Now, there's things like this one, it generated is 25 minutes long, which is way too long to ask any kind of recruiter, but you can get it down to 5 or 10 minutes. You get a really compelling story, and I think I have a shorter one up on my website right now. There's supposed to be a share button here, but I think because I created this before they released the shareable link for the audio, it's not on this specific notebook, and I haven't created a second one or anything yet. But the cool things you can do with this are ask it any questions. Like, what are the best recommendations I've received for, let's say, strategic leadership, maybe. This is also a huge ego boost. If you're ever having a bad day and you want to hear people say good things about you, give it your resume, LinkedIn profile recommendations, things like that, and listen to that audio overview. So you basically can query it. You get these kind of condensed notes, and then you can save these notes to the notebook, kind of like an FAQ. In fact, I thought this was public initially. So I have like, what do leaders say about Mike? What expertise does he have in user onboarding? What do Mike's direct reports say about working with him? What do people in general say about it? And I have other things in here like thought leadership, general FAQs, notable accomplishments. So these are things I might expect a recruiter or somebody to come here and look at, or a potential client or whatever, and be able to get kind of a nice little breakdown and write up for it. Now, because they're not public, I end up moving them over to my site and putting them in an FAQ, but compiling them and putting them together is super easy, and it's kind of a nice structured output. I think it's probably one of the better consumer-facing kind of RAG operations that's free, at least, for everybody to use. So highly recommend it, if not just for the audio output, but definitely check it out for projects, for organizing information, or for telling your own story and gathering those types of things without having to write it out yourself. Because people, I think, generally struggle writing nice things about themselves. So play around with it, see what you can do, and see what other use cases you come up with.